Welcome to Cerberus Virtual Racing's highlight reel. Race 3 at Bathurst or Mount Panorama. Uh, Host for this evening, Ash as always, one of the admins from Cerberus Virtual Racing, and also joined by my fellow driver and friend, PDUBS.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
Brings a
Hello.
tear to your eye.
It does.
Yes, it's the race that a lot of us have been dreading, mostly me, because I'm never really have a particularly great race on Bathurst. I think we had 20, 21, 20 on the grid, so
20
we
on the grid for this race, yes.
quite a healthy grid. So that's split between three splits to the pros, pro-ams, and ams. Um, so 1 hour race, mandatory pit stop with a mandatory 25 seconds of fuel. Works really well. However, a lot of us tested the pits out on more than one occasion, mostly me. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, yeah, we're not comment on anyone else's speed ups, will we?
Yeah, no, I know what I did. I'm very aware of what I did and what that caused. Down into the dipper, I rear-ended someone, uh, and it's indefensible. I can't argue that I had anything like I made a mistake, and that pile up affected like 30% of the drivers on the grid. So
If you're gonna do it right.
yeah.
Um, as always, big shout out to the patrons Nick, Gavin, Paul, Tex, Mark, Eric, Martin, Matt, Michael, Christine, and Kirk, Tony, and yourself, Pete. So big shout out to them.
Also, real
We
quick,
Yeah, we've got
we
some
need
new ones,
to
haven't we? Yeah.
we also need to add Mr. Chris Montgomery, Thomas
Uh-huh.
Gerlach, Simon Tonkin, and Stacy Ellis.
There we go. I'm very slack on the additions to the patron. That's why I've got a co-host. Yeah, so big shout out to those. If you're watching and you're not part of Cerberus and you like what you see, you like what you hear, the Discord is on the bottom. Come and say hi. We're a friendly bunch. Brunch?
Yeah, that's the right
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, we're a friendly bunch. We've got all sorts of drivers here, from aliens down to fresh amateurs on controllers. So we've got a wide range of people. We've got lots of skills that people have got as well. We've got people in VR, we've got people that are not in VR, we've got people that have been racing a long time, so they're classed as coaches. So I'd like to think we've got a bit of everything that we can bring to the table for new drivers or drivers that have moved from different sims as well. 'Cause no two sims are the same.
Yeah. ACC, I just think that for the money, ACC and AC are the best ones out there. I'm very excited for Assetto Corsa 2 to come out, but uh, yes, these are great sims.
So 5 o'clock race, Mount Panorama. It was looking a little bit sketchy in the week, I'm not going to lie. I did have a look at the weather and it said light drizzle. So that worried me slightly. And then doing the time pick that we usually do on the Friday when the race is on the Sunday, it looked like it was going to be a night race as well. So luckily the spinning wheel just moved one further forward onto a 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't think it was a
Thank, oh,
particularly
thank
too
God.
bad though.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to do this race at night or in the rain or at night in the rain.
No, that's definitely a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, we're lucky we don't have to pay for the damage. Well, you certainly don't.
No.
So I think without further ado, what we'll do is we'll switch to the in-game and I shall let the co-host PDUBS as lovely hosting voice talk us through the pros, pro-ams, and ams while I give you a flying visit. Not everybody's liveries have updated correctly. That's because I was running a little bit late um, to the show, so I do apologise in advance if people had uploaded their liveries to SimGrid and they were missing. So yeah, I'll switch it across and we shall have a look.
Yeah, so starting off, we have on pole position Yusuf bin Suhail in that McLaren 720S. And then Adam Scott, who's a new driver with us. This was his first race, and he did a fantastic job. On the second row, we have Vito Fatalino, also a new driver with Cerberus Virtual Racing, in third overall in the McLaren 720S, followed by Eric Roguski in fourth in the Mercedes, Tony Hertzig in the Ferrari in fifth, Hans Gingel in sixth in the McLaren, and Connor Jalaviecki in the Ferrari starting in seventh. Uh, then we have pro driver Michael Woollacott making his return to the grid in the Mercedes AMG 2020, starting in eighth overall. In ninth, we have Pro Am driver Mark Kutz starting in the Ferrari in ninth place overall. And then back to the pro category, we have Paul Simon in the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2, Gavin Sullivan in the McLaren 720S, and Peter Wasinski, myself, in the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2 in 10th, 11th, and 12th. In 13th position is Kirk Nicholson in the BMW M4, then Niklaus Peltzel in the Porsche 992, yourself, Mr. Ash Leach, in the Huracan Evo 2, and Christine Nicholson in 16th place in the BMW M4. The back of the grid is all of the AM drivers. We had newcomer Chris Montgomery in the McLaren 720S, Sean Field in the Ferrari 296, Simon Tonkin in the Mercedes AMG GT3 2020, and Stacy Ellis in 20th position in the Mercedes AMG 2020. So solid grid to start. Let's see, that is 6 Pro, 10 Pro Am, and
4 ams.
4 M. That's not a bad grid.
Yeah, we'd had a couple of people that are on holidays and stuff like that. It's still one of the major holidays in the UK. A lot of kids are going back this week, so I think a few people have just been making last ditched holidays. But overall, solid grid. I mean, the grid is very much upside down with the pros and the pro-ams. So it's yeah, very difficult to see where people were. Quite a few people that have, or drivers even, that have, been lower down the grids in the previous two races, um, have put a solid performance in qualify quite high up at this grid, really. I mean, Arik, he qualified second in Pro-Ams. Tony, who has been quite low down in the previous two races, qualified third Pro-Ams. And Hans, obviously, fourth in Pro-Ams. So really solid effort from some of the drivers that have been further down the grids in the previous races. And then
Right.
obviously some of the pros are quite far down overall. But as it works, if this is your first time watching, the pros and pro-ams are not actually racing each other. So while Michael is behind Yaloweki, it doesn't actually impede him in any way. So he's still third. but for him then to get through them, he's got to get through what, 5 drivers before he starts
Right.
challenging Scott, which it makes it an interesting race, especially when it's like that.
It's a tough track, and it absolutely throws the grid into chaos. Uh, I was on a really excellent uh, qualifying lap that would have put me somewhere in maybe like maybe sixth overall. Unfortunately, I touched a wall going up the mountain, and that's all it takes. The Bathurst is an extremely difficult course, and it has a habit of making fools out of people.
I think the thing is with Bathurst, you can be having the race of your lifetime, um, but there's a lot of things out of your control on this. I mean, anybody can spin out. As you'll see later on in the highlights reel, there is some really good close racing. Again, between me, Kirk, Christine, and Cuts, we have a really good moment. But I'll not ruin that. That'll come up. But overall, the incidents, the actual amount of incidents, was at 19. So again, you could
Pretty
probably,
low.
yeah, you could probably write 5 of those incidents off as a little bit of door banging and touring car-esque overtakes, but nothing sinister. There was a couple that we've obviously had to impede some penalties on, but nothing that is going to upset anybody's qualifications at Zolder. So going forward, the grid is getting better. We've got Scott's joined now. He's another pro. Obviously, we're missing a couple of our other pros. We've got Matt missing and Todd, and Sandro's missing. So if they're back for Zolder, which I'm not sure if Todd is because I think he might still be away, it should bring a really strong grid. And then
Hmm.
I think we're another 2 AMs missing and 7 pro AMs. So
I
on
would love to
paper,
see this grid get up to like 30.
yeah, on paper we should be around the 30, 32 mark.
That'd be
So
amazing.
not amazing at Bathurst, I must admit. That'd be like a
Oh, I'd
definitely
love it.
the qualification would be like a train.
Bring
But
it.
but yeah, without further ado, I think we shall get in. So we'll start with uh, we'll start on Bin Sahel and Scott, and we'll go from there because the grid is really tightly packed. Um, so, do you need counting down, P-Dubs? Are you started?
You're all the way at the beginning.
Yep.
I'm all the way at the beginning. Give me
So
the count.
3, 2, 1. So we're on board with Bin Sahel and Scott as we approach the straightaways. Brilliant start by Scott there as he takes the outside line on Bin Sahel. But look at the McLaren there. Takes an absolute fantastic line.
Hmm.
And now we're straight down to the first real corner. McLaren just edges into front there.
Look at Eric in that Merc. He did so well this race.
Yeah, so he's managed to continue being fourth. We've got Hans in the background. He's challenging for positions. But the Lamborghini that Scott is driving it grips like you don't know what. I tried following him in quali and I don't know whether he's a far superior driver or the setup he's using is just fantastic. So the
Look at these
grid
guys
had spread out a little bit there. So we're on board now with Michael and Tony going 3 wide.
How does Michael go?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, it
Michael
was,
goes around the outside. Tony got
yeah,
I think
Yalowecki
Tony
and
got him
Tony, didn't
knocked
he?
a little wide.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a cheeky maneuver there, but That was one of the maneuvers
There's
we're on about.
Mike. Mike going up a few places like already. Now that I'm looking at it, what happened to Adam that he got knocked so far back?
So
What
Adam was challenging Bin Sahel
Yusuf?
on, yeah, on the first corner, and he just overshot it. And ended up running wide. So
Marvelous move from Vito there.
yeah, fantastic. I mean, it closes the door on Eric there, stops him getting a switch back on him. And now we're on to Cuts and Connor. Yourself in the background there.
hmm I
So there's not.
actually got a really good run on this, and oh yeah, that's where I was able to overtake Mark. But it's also this lap where I caused a 6-car pile up.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I was hunting. So this is the train that I was on about, um,
mm,
where I was running behind Kurt, Christine, yourself, and Cuts ended up dropping behind me. Managed to get a little bit of a game plan together for where I was stronger than the Beamers. Should see
Michael is an
me.
absolute rocket. Got along the inside there and just took. Oh God. Yep. That was because of me, guys. That little pile right there. I got on stewarding yesterday and I am so, so sorry.
It is one of them things, mate. It happens. You ruined my race, but
I ruined mine too.
it happens, mate. What we learnt from that is teleporting to the pits is brutal.
Right. Look at Gavin right on the back of Sean.
Sean was quick though. I know he's put a
Yeah, he
lot of
was.
practice in this week, but yeah, he's you can see on the left-hand side of your screen from 14th to 19th that we call that the PDUBS massacre.
Uh, will be written down in the books.
It will forever be remembered by the meme channel.
Yeah, I will not be allowed to forget. Vito putting in a really good race.
Yeah, he ended up in a few little squabbles, I think, that caused him to drop quite a few positions. And now the big AMGs are challenging each other. Look,
There goes Michael. Two very nice looking Mercedes there. I do kind of like
no,
this
no,
whole like spaghetti thing that Michael's got
Bilstein
going on.
ones. The Bilstein one is definitely the one. So Scott and Tony. So this is for third in the pro class or fourth overall.
Good move from Adam. He was just so fast. Gavin and Niklaus.
Yeah, the Porsche didn't really do Porsche things to Nick, did it? I
Nah,
know Gav had a little bit of a spin early on. It looks like he's sporting a bit of damage, but I think you'll be hard done by to find any car that by the end of this race that wasn't sporting any sort of damage.
no, Gavin did a fantastic job. Although he was absolutely trying to get me kicked out of the next race in the stewarding, wasn't he?
So another pro there on Vito. So this is eighth and ninth overall, or 5th in the pros
So
versus
that's
third in the pro am.
once again a great move from Vito. That's, a pro am driver keeping a pro level driver at bay. So doing great work.
Hands in the RAF liveried McLaren here.
Love that livery. Yeah, this is shortly after I had gotten out of the pits and the accident was, just done. And so there was a period of time where I was just kind of like, I'm just going to let these guys pass. Just, I'm not in this fight anymore.
Yeah, I think
So,
we were three laps down.
yep,
I know certainly it cost me effectively 5 minutes worth of pit time by the time I'd refueled and whatnot. So I think I ended up with
yeah,
16 laps worth of fuel um, towards the end once the checkered flag had gone, which didn't particularly help my speed.
unfortunately, it is not the last time that I had to go to the pits. Uh, I just happened to be fortunate enough that the next time that I had to go to the pits, I didn't teleport, so it took care of the mandatory pit stop. Um, but I had made a pretty big error at Skyline. And we'll see that shortly, unfortunately.
I tell you what
Look at
though, following the beamers on the final straight, the outright speed compared to the Lamborghini was just phenomenal. I mean,
Ooh,
this is a good move. This so rightly so. Scott ends up off track there because he can't make the apex. Fair enough.
right.
But he yields the place back to Michael. It doesn't obviously show it there.
Yeah, we can skip this. We can zip ahead maybe 10 seconds or so. We we don't have to watch this.
Where did you overtake me?
I think it's just uh
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
uh this was just so challenging for me.
I'm curious how I got dragged into your wall punt.
I don't know. I would have preferred that it didn't look at it as an overtake and it just stayed off the highlight reel. Here comes Mark. Mark did a fantastic job, especially after that accident that I caused. He worked his way all the way back up to 10th overall. So, great job from him. Oh, there you are.
I still managed to. I think I got down to 2 laps in the end. Um, but yeah,
Christine along the inside, hits the apex. Very nice move.
Tonkin there being nice and respectful, yielding on off the racing line. I really didn't need to yield that because they were both in it overall.
What's happening here? I don't even see Mark.
So this is where the Beamer was strong.
Yeah. I mean, they have so much straight line speed in the first place. So these straights really they could put a hell of a gap on you. Now, this is what Michael was talking about with me yesterday. He said that him and Adam, look at that. He went for that switchback. He just didn't have the speed out, but he catches them, and they go back and forth like that for 5 or so laps.
Yeah, I think Tony and Cuts were like that for eighth and ninth because Tony was, I think he was ahead of Cuts as a little bit of an off.
Oh, oh, look at that. I didn't
Yeah,
know that Yusuf made a mistake like all race and
he kept that quiet, didn't he?
yeah, no one well, he doesn't get in on the stewarding. I haven't seen him join any of the after race content, but yeah, no one was aware of Yusuf making that blunder. Um,
To be fair though, I don't think anybody finished that race without any damage. I mean, we only lost three drivers as well, which, you know, I know you say it a lot.
Amazing,
Yeah, I know you say it a lot, but it is one of those where it is better for people to finish because if they don't finish at all, um, you don't get any points. Whereas you're better off just finishing. I mean, it was it was brutal for me and you because especially being three laps down, um, just the sheer constant thought in your head that unless somebody goes off and really, really smashes the car up, which you don't really want to wish on anyone, there is no
right?
way you're going to gain any positions. So I think it was like 48 minutes or so, something like that. Maybe a little bit less. That I'm just driving around thinking I just want this race to end.
Right. No, I was there. This was one of the first races where even in my head I was just like, "What? Oh, do I even want to keep driving this?" And I decided I did. I made a good amount of mistakes, but all it said to me was, "I need to drive this track more because you don't get better by quitting out." Um, but yeah, no, it in the end, it was a great race, and I ended up having one of the best battles that I've had with Hans. And, I was like 2 laps below Hans when we were having our battle, and it was just so much fun anyway. So, finishing first overall, we have Yusuf bin Suhail, followed by Adam Scott and Michael Woollacott in the Pro Series taking the podium. Eric Roguski in the Pro Am category takes first place in category at fourth overall, followed by Gavin Sullivan in the Pros. Then Nicholas Peltzel takes second in the Pro Am category, and Kirk Nicholson taking third in the Pro Am. In eighth overall, we had Mark Kutz, followed by Tony Hertzig. And our first amateur to cross the line was Sean Field in 10th position, followed by Pro Am Hans Gingel and Christine Nicholson. Taking second place for the Am category was Chris Montgomery, and in third, Simon Tonkin. Stacy Ellis took 15th place overall and fourth in his category, followed by Ash Leach and myself in 16th and 17th. Bathurst has a way of taking people who should be at the front and booting them right to the back.
I wouldn't even say that. I think it's a blood pressure tester. Um,
I've said it a couple times about Bathurst. I said Bathurst is the GT3 Monaco.
yeah, I think I can make many excuses as to why I had a bad race. One of the which was every time I braked and accelerated, I was spinning on my desk chair because I'm currently on a temporary rig. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say that I just had a terrible race, and hopefully I can redeem myself at Zolder, seeing as I've let Arik now get in front of me on points.
For me, I think the story of my drive is always pretty typical. It's usually the same thing. I can put a good lap together but when the pressure is on, I do have a bad habit of cracking under that pressure. And as you said, Bathurst is pressure. So it just happened to me a few too many times. I've gotten a lot better at it, at managing that pressure, but obviously there's still work to be done.
Well, the standings are looking good. I'll run through them for you. So, pro category standings are as follows. So yourself in first with 89 points. Second is Paul Simon with 88 points. And third with 80 points is Gavin. So not a lot really separates that.
Yeah,
I think it's going to come really down to the wire. I mean, Youssef had a bit of bad luck at Snetterton because he got a DNF due to a disconnect
yep.
um, when he was running second. So that would have probably put him around uh, similar points, maybe a couple of points in front of you. So
He probably would have been in the 100 mark now. The issue is Yusuf had a DNF in race 2 and he didn't race in race 1, and since we have a one drop championship, he has two races effectively where he did not score points, and now he's going to have to spend the rest of the season taking first or second in every race uh, in order to negate those two races where he didn't make it, and that's going to be an issue if we do have this Adam Scott guy on the grid. If we've got Todd Brown making a showing again, it's highly possible that the pro level, like, there's the pro category and then there are the aliens that are in the pro category. And Gavin, Paul, myself, we aren't the alien guys. This Yusuf, Adam, guys like Matt Lee, Michael can be alien, Todd Brown. If those guys start hitting up every race, they might shake up each other enough where at the end of the season, a guy like myself or like Paul or Gavin just making it to every single race, we could actually have a shot of taking the championship just because we consistently stayed in every race.
yeah, to be fair though, the championship is more exciting when it's like that because when you've not got one clear winner week in, week out, it makes it a little bit more exciting, not only to watch on the highlights, but also to be part of. Because you
Right.
never know what's going to happen. I mean, the pro-ams are exactly the same. So, Arik, 105 points. Um, Mark Cuts, second with 99 points. And then Kirk with 94. So, there's only uh, a couple of places that separate them. So, depending on what happens at Solder, it could really shake it up because fourth, fifth, and sixth, you know, fourth certainly, there's only 2 points that separate third and fourth, and then from fifth and sixth, all right, you're looking at 9 points that separates sort of fifth and sixth, but that's only one or two places. Um, myself in sixth and Christine in seventh. There's 1 point separates us. So there's everything to play for in each of these championships, and then the amateurs are there exactly the same. So we've got Sean on 106, Simon Tonkin on 99, and Stacey Ellis on 84. Chris obviously finished um, 13th, but a solid place. But because he's only raced once, He's showing as having 49 points. So I think if everybody sort of keeps coming as much as they can, there's everything to play for in this series.
Right.
We've got some challenging tracks coming up. I know Spa is certainly going to be interesting for the Mercedes with the current BOP at the minute. Watkins Glen is another challenging track. Tight, twisty, horrible for overtaking in certain areas. Um, so there's definitely going to be some good ones, and then we've still got Brands Hatch as well, which is a fast, short track.
That's one of your favorites.
It is my favorite, one of my favorite. In fact, it is my favorite track. I like Brands. It is very technical though, and there's not many places to overtake, and it can easily go wrong if you push past the point of where your tyres are at. So I think that's going to come down to a pit stop strategy. But yeah, I think overall it was a really good race. I think everybody that raced and finished um, certainly had a tough race. It was not an easy race,
No, not
and
at all.
the grid has been flipped on its head really. Um, some definite strong contenders for the series finale. So I hope you've enjoyed the highlights from myself and PDUBS. If you are just dropping in on the stream and you're not on Discord, please follow the link on under the Twitch. On Discord now, we've got a brand new podcast that I've tasked with Pete to do, and he's found Nick. So certainly give it a listen. It gives you some really good track information. So we're up to 3 now. Is that right? We've got 3
That's
podcasts.
podcast episode number 3.
So he's very proactive in doing the podcasts. Is our PDUBS. So certainly have a listen. We'll post the links on the Discord channels as always, and we look forward to you coming back for Zolder. So it's thank you from me,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
and we'll see you soon.